The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Tastes just like candy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, the official podcast for single women over 35. Who I am Candace Harper, lovecoach.com, coming to you live from the V Club. Woo! I teach and inspire audacious intimacy to powerful, professional, grown women who want real relationships from seductive singlehoods. More importantly, I help single city women over 35 who have given up on love stand boldly in their purpose and stop getting ghosted and create unconditional love. So as you know, the V Club is one of my very, very favorite places to be. It is a gorgeous venue in the heart of Chelsea where women take classes, workshops, and attend events around sex and relationships. And as of the end of January, Ask for Candy is going to be moving on to a new space. I got a little weepy there. That made me tear up a little. We're a little bit heartbroken, but you know what? We're moving on to bigger and broader and whatever the universe has out there for us. The V Club itself is continuing on. We just won't be here broadcasting with you live. We're going to find a new space. I see Darren has joined us, and Billy and Lee. Welcome, you guys. So we love our community here, so you'll still see a lot of the same faces in our new space. You guys are all going to be around still, right? No matter where we go, and somebody's ringing, they're going to be around no matter where we go, right? Are you guys going to be there?
Absolutely.
Whatever space we go to?
Oh, absolutely.
Pam has offered her home. Kathy has offered us a space. Barbara has an idea. We got ideas, people. This is why I want to take a moment, because whenever we go through changes and transition, especially things that are unexpected, it's always good to share with people. Yes. Because you never know who's going to have an opportunity for you or give you an idea that's going to be your next sort of chapter. Right? So I'm glad I shared. You guys know I always have fabulous people. And I'm glad that I shared with them because they came up with some great stuff for us. And Lee says, hello. Hi, my darling.
Hi, Lee.
Welcome, Lee. So I'm still doing the workshop, Peace, Purpose, and Partnership on Saturday, January 19th, which is this Saturday coming up. And I'll tell you more about that later. But in the meantime, you are probably listening in your TuneIn app and in the garden on Armed Radio Global, or maybe you're listening on iHeartRadio if you have an Alexa, or perhaps you're joining us here live on Facebook. And if you are, you know that you can be part of the conversation. And if you're on Facebook at all, even if you're in the listening audience, I want you to become part of our group, the Creative Love Collective, and also Armed Radio Group News. And if you're shy during the show, you can call in and talk to us at 1-800-508-5431. And I think that's it. Or you can email us, askforcandy podcast@gmail.com. Like I said, I'm Candace Harper, Love Coach. My talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth. And my purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and others so that we can all have our best possible love life. And that is why we are here for this conversation. We're not here to hand down a bunch of dating rules and relationship rights and wrongs. We're not here to shame anybody for their love situation. Our only intention is to create audacious intimacy, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. So normally that is what we talk about, right? We just get right to the heart of relationships, love, sometimes sex. That's our usual sort of MO. But I ran into, you guys know, sometimes I'm surfing the internet and I might find an article, something interesting, something that resonates, something I want to bring to you. And so I found this article written by Matthew Jones for Inc.com. It's called, and I shared it on my Facebook page, but I wanted to share it here because I knew that my prolific people would have a lot to say about it. And it's called 20 Brutal Truths About Life That No One Wants to Admit. Dun, dun, dun. Right? That's it all. Welcome, Yvonne. And Stephen joined, and he's here too. I love it, Stephen. You're in the interwebs and digital. It's fabulous. So yeah, we're going to just delve into this article. And the way that we're going to do it is we're going to go through the 20 brutal truths. It's fresh. I read through the article, and obviously I shared the link, so I kind of know what it's all about. But everybody here, have any of you read the article?
Nope, haven't seen
Anybody?
it.
You haven't seen it? You read it? Okay. We have a little bit of a mixture, but that's perfect because we're going to have a very fresh, just off the cuff conversation about it. Right? You guys ready? Ooh, and I love it when new people come, especially when they don't know what's going on. Right? Okay, so let's get started. You guys ready to get started?
Yes.
All right, so here's what Matthew Jones says. He says, it's much easier to talk about weather, sports, and celebrities than your fear of mortality, right? Unfortunately, the more time we spend pretending that ultimate truths don't exist, the more time we waste not being our authentic self and getting the most out of every precious second, which I love that. Like when we just, pretend like la la la, life goes on forever. We know it doesn't, but we act like it does and get nothing done, right? Well, I know I have. Time, not money, is your most valuable asset.
Yes.
Do you guys agree?
Yes.
I totally agree.
And gravity.
And gravity? Keep us tied to the earth.
The defiance of gravity.
Yes,
or
and
gravity?
the ladies know what I'm talking about.
So the defiance of gravity.
I love my pants. I see Evie joined. I see Lori is here and Joe is here. Welcome, you guys. I love that pants. So yes. Anyway, he says, allow the list below to ignite the spark of motivation you need to make better use of the time you have on this planet. And I read into that around your productivity, around your relationships, around, if you got stuff going on with family, you got things left unsaid, just stuff that needs to be cleared. It's like, allow this time on earth to do that, because that's what we're here for. We're not here to ignore it. Hi, Brandon, who just joined. Lori says, time is the most valuable resource we have. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you can never get it back. Money you can always make more of. Time, that's it. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Not so much.
Right? So he says, sometimes we need to head into the storm to appreciate the light and have a renewed passion for the beauty of life. So here are the 20 brutal truths that every single person needs to hear. Brandon says, hi, Candy. Hi, Brandon. Welcome, honey. The first one is, you're going to die and you have no idea when. He says, stop pretending you're invincible, acknowledge the fact of your own mortality, and then start structuring your life in a more meaningful way. Does anybody have anything that comes up or resonates around that, wants to talk about that? Something they want to share, Kathy?
Well, having been a widow in my late 30s and my husband dying at 40, I realized, and he said, I only was married for 4 years, but he said, I can't imagine not having a significant life. Yeah. And he knew how many days old he was. So there must have been something in the back of his mind. His time was very limited and valuable, and he taught me a lot about that. I used to say, his name was Mark Grunwald, so I said it was like dog years. It's like 3 years, because I looked at how much he did. I mean, it was a comic book, comic book person, the arm's length that he wrote in his short. He did Captain America longer than any. He was the number 2 guy at Marvel. And, he taught me, with him dying in front of me, taught me it's short. Yeah. It's short. And I looked at his journal and it actually said, you're never. I thought, wow, how prophetic that this man who died young was so aware of that. And so it's not that I'm walking around with this morbid feeling, but it's really, like you said, seconds. Yeah. We have seconds that are valuable. Don't waste a second, because a rich, full, dive into what we're here for purposefully. So discovering your purpose is probably part of the journey, but it's really important that you fulfill your purpose and as quickly as possible, because it's over quickly. And
I want to ask you a question about, because I would imagine that was a shot of mortality, watching your husband pass away. What is something that actually showed, what was the impact and what actually showed up in your life where you were just like, you know what, I'm not going to waste another minute? What is something that you were able to achieve with that sort of, support behind you?
I fearlessly went into event production because I when is it who's going to give me the permission? Yeah. So I gave myself permission. I started immediately after he passed away. I opened up the will and it said, I want to be cremated and my ashes put into a comic book. So I did that with Marvel right away.
Wow.
So, and that became of weird stuff to do after you die. Talk about throwing yourself into your work, you know? And everybody loved that, and he's known for that kind of prankster, mentality.
Yeah.
But it just showed me that, I have a hard time dating people after that because I was married to Captain America, and that's a hard act to follow. But then at the same time, it was like I embraced it, and I was telling Pam, I said, I'm still having a relationship with a dead guy, you know, and that's kind of cool because I'm keeping his memory alive. Yeah. He was the #2 guy at Marvel Comics. So why wouldn't I want to keep that legacy alive? So it kind of impacted me, his memory going, but then what am I going to leave?
Yeah.
What's my contribution?
That's a great question.
Boy, I couldn't imagine having a that hit me like a hatchet between my eyes. I was like, life? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So that's kind of like whatever I'm doing and helping them. That's my legacy.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Kathy. That's awesome. Kicking off the show. Does anybody else have something that like resonates with them around that?
2001. And I think we all remember what we were doing when those planes hit the towers and Pentagon, and we even to even the minutia of the day, the weather and the temperature. But what struck me is that people went to work and the concern for the kids. You know, the kids are looking for mom and dad to come and pick them up. Never made it home. Working with survivors of crime and those survivors in particular, and hearing the stories and a lot of the survivors saying that, we had an argument, or, I wonder, did they know how much I love them and how much cared and how important there was. And listening to their stories, I know I was forever all, as we all were. Yeah. And the fleeting, that time is fleeting and nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. I think that, at least for me, I have not spent enough time contemplating and investing in living and taking living for granted. And I think that, at least for me, that going forward, I want to consider living while I'm living and not so much, at the end and wondering what if. Yeah. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt. I don't know his whole quote, but if you're going to dare, we need to dare great. And we don't need to leave this life. I don't want to die wondering.
Yeah, that's like Dr. Wayne Dyer always says, don't die with your music in you.
Exactly.
Like, that we're here to live, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Love it. Is everybody complete with it? We have a couple new ladies. I don't know that they want to be on camera, but ladies, just so you know, you can join in the conversation. You just got to talk real loud because you're far away from the mic if you have something you want to say during the course of this podcast. Okay. What are your names, by the way? Joanna? Edlin. Welcome, people. We just, people, we do it casual. People come in and out. They jump in, they join, they get their little inspiration and do what they need to do with it, right? Does anybody else have anything else around this brutal truth? You're going to die and you have no idea when. Go ahead,
I
Steve.
think for me, it's aging in a day. Just, we've all lost people. So it's just planet that lives in the past and worries about the future. And tomorrow, the next moment is not guaranteed. You can go to work one day, and that was somewhere right now. Somebody's on their way to the emergency room, life-threatening condition, and they're not. So your life can change. You see it all the time on social media. We're live streaming on social media, and somebody's profile is going to be up tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so
true.
it's just being in the moment and living right now, present with it in your life or whatever it is.
And I think, and also understanding that the chances that is fully functioning and wonderful, addition. I think I read this somewhere. It really struck me. You have a better chance of winning the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes than to bring forth a child, because there's so many things that can go wrong. So
like we're the lottery winners. Like there were billions and billions.
And you know what? Right? We need to live like that. We need to live like
what
this.
the odds are that you're
Exactly.
born.
Yeah.
And we're here.
I also think that's a good argument for not taking this and then thinking that you have to be attached and focused on dying, because this is not what it's about, right? This is about like being focused on living. And like Steve said, being present. So absolutely, Anybody else? Barbara.
So that brings something up. What we're focused on. And and there's a life, but there's not very much happiness. And that's literally how everyone to believe living, where in reality the energy of joy and is the energy of so when you're working us is to be the slave of the boss.
We gotta talk. You gotta talk louder, Barbara.
That's how CEOs and presidents and anyone. I mean, the owner of the candy store, they want their people, their employees, to work.
Yeah.
And what they're missing out on, and everyone else, is if they allow them to enjoy, go out for lunch and take an extra half. To go to the zoo or play with the kids.
Afternoon siestas.
Actually, yes, and what would actually occur is the more play and joy they have in their will be coming in, not only to the people, but to the business. So everything is backwards.
Yeah, I agree. It's very counterintuitive to what we say we want.
Absolutely.
Right, culturally.
So the question for everyone is what?
Yeah.
And then have.
Yes.
This is just energy. It's just energy.
Right.
The Europeans say time is life, and we as Americans say time is money. But Europeans, time is life.
Time is life.
Right. And they live totally different.
Yes.
This is a good time to remind everybody. If you have a grievance with somebody, apologize, reach out, make it right. Somebody you love, tell them that you love them. You don't know when you'll get a chance to speak to somebody.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Right.
Life is too short to have petty grievances and bad relations with people.
It's true. Lori on the Facebook Live says, "Amen. People forget to live when alive, myself included." Right. Yep, that's exactly what Steve was just talking about. What Barbara's talking. Absolutely. I love this. I love this brutal truth. We got past one. I told you when we bring the prolific people, right? We got 19 more to go. We're never going to get there. in our little hour. I see Brian and Joseph and Valentino joined us. Welcome, you guys. Are you guys ready to move on to the next one? You ready for a new brutal truth?
Yes.
Okay, number 2 is everyone you love is going to die and you don't know when. So he says, Matthew Jones says, this truth may be saddening at first, but it also gives you permission to make amends with past difficulties and reestablish meaningful relationships with important figures in your life, which I think that's what you started to touch on, Steve, right? Like the clearing of relationships. I feel like we all, I mean, myself included, as much as I always talk about partnership and things like that, I have people that I could clear with, that I could, go ahead and just own my shit. And I always say the best way to clear with someone, because we always feel like when we've fallen out with someone that we have to get them to understand where we're coming from. When really it's like I think it's a Buddhist saying, seek first to understand, then to be understood. It's really so important to seek first to understand, but also just come with a spirit of, I'm owning my shit. I'm owning it 100%. Whatever you did, I'm responsible for how I responded to it. You're responsible for what you did. I'm responsible for how I reacted to it.
Right.
And I know that there are definitely people in my life that I could reach out to and own some shit. I don't know about you guys. Does anybody want to talk about that? Anybody they need to clear with? Radio, right? Radio silence.
Oh my God.
Right? Is it because the list is so big, or y'all are just like, okay, we're not sharing that personal stuff?
I have to say that
James.
that is one of my favorite qualities about my fiance.
Yeah.
That he is such a man of integrity because he owns his shit in every moment.
Wow.
And he's always working on his stuff.
Wow.
And I have never felt put upon. I've never felt like he's blaming me for XYZ. And it's really incredible. And he inspires me a lot.
That's huge.
Lucky.
Because I also think that that's a common thing in relationships, the blame game. Right? I know a lot of, clients that I deal with, people, just friends that I know, like people who are in relationships, it's always because you did this, I'm mad now, you make me this, or you make me sad. I feel like that's something that's very common. It's very ordinary. It's how we're conditioned. It's how we're raised, but it's so unworkable. And so that's a beautiful thing to have.
Absolutely.
Somebody who's
You
willing to just
attracted
own
that,
it.
though. I want you to
Right?
know. You attracted that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, go girl.
But I think that is part of the process. And when you can truthfully say that I have culpability in my situation,
Yeah.
and focus on how to be that better person, like what we were talking about, energies, and energies being attracted. When you point the finger and you're blaming, and you are steeped in anger, that's what you attract.
Yeah.
But when you release it and actually see your humanity, and your culpability and the humanity in other people, I think it opens an avenue of conversation so that we can have those difficult, sticky type of conversations, and when we engage, that it's not about the blame.
Yeah.
It's always, one of the things about conflict resolution, the most successful is collaboration, and where everybody comes to the table, but also leaves with more than what they came. So there is it's no deficit, but it's being intentional, in that, and that saying about first understanding and walking in someone else, and understanding where that person is, and then being understood. I think it's a higher level of living and being less selfish.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it.
And
Go ahead, Barbara. Speak loudly.
Another part of that is on this planet, and especially struggle with choice, right? And
Oh, yeah.
being wrong is like one of our great.
Right? No one wants to be wrong.
But the amazing thing is,
Right?
okay,
Yeah.
what if there is simply oh, okay, so I tried this. What else is possible?
Absolutely.
What can I try that would create? But because this has been so impelled, so the people who won't speak, you go out to karaoke where everyone's having fun.
Yeah.
So you're giving up maybe the gifts you. There's no such thing as wrong.
Yeah.
There's just.
Yeah. It's true. Welcome to Joseph and Julie and Michael. I always have to welcome the new people in. Oh, we have two Josephs and Brian. So I love that, Barbara. I absolutely agree with that. And I also feel like so much of our culture is afraid to be wrong because a lot of times, as we're growing up, making mistakes, there's so much punishment and so punitive. And I think even though my parent friends get mad at me, I am not a parent, so I have no judgments about what parents should do, but I have been a child. I've been somebody's child. So I can say I really do strongly believe that, it's very important that as we're growing up, that children are taught that their mistakes are not their identity. And I don't know what that means as far as punishment is concerned. And I don't judge how anybody, handles their child or anything like that because I don't have that experience. But I do think it's really important that we understand that our mistakes are not our identity. And however we need to teach our children that, whether it's just living it and inspiring them with it or whatever, it needs to be done. Otherwise, we continue with this society of, don't be wrong, don't be wrong. And when people don't want to be wrong, they lie,
Yep.
right? Mm-hmm. They do things that are, it's pathological. Go ahead, Barbara. Oh, no, go ahead.
And the other thing that, because once you get into that could be a wonderful tool. We say, well, now when you put that question, the energy holds the limit. Being afraid, let's go. And so that what shows is that you're just going to show. And that more creativity is going to come, joy is going to come. And, if you felt that you were. And then.
What can I learn from it?
Exactly. Because then what happens is it could actually end up when you open the door.
Absolutely. Yay. Nuggets of wisdom, people. That's what we're handing out here. We ready to go to number 3? I think number 3 we kind of have touched on so I'm going to gloss over it quickly. It's your material wealth won't make you a better or happier person. But I feel like we delved into that one pretty good. And you guys back there, you feel like we delved into it?
Yeah.
I don't want to ignore you because you're over on the left side or on my right side. I don't know, whatever. Number 4, your obsession with finding happiness is what prevents its attainment. Oh, I like this one. He says, happiness is always present in your life. It's just a matter of connecting to it and allowing it to flow through you that is challenging. So, what do you guys think about that one?
I love that saying. Happy as you make your mind up to be.
Yeah. I don't know, but it's a great saying. Go do so, please, honey. Get in here. You gotta move over a little bit so you're on camera.
Okay. I think we see happiness as very much like result-oriented strategy. So I think it has to be looked at in more like process. Because happiness could so much like they say when I your money or it's the other way around. Usually I see with lots of people, they're happy, they're able to attract that. If they're happy, they can attract that money. Or if they're happy, the money comes. So instead of the other way around, it's actually starting from within. Right. So it's the happiness starts, and it's without any reason. Usually people who are happy with no reason are the ones who can get anything they want because they don't see it as false. And I would be proponent of Osho. Osho. This, in Guru. And he says, especially women, they tie happiness so much to their, for example, and like, and it then there's this book called The Book of Woman. I
say it again.
Times by Osho,
yeah.
The Book of Woman.
Yeah, the Book of Woman.
He says, he talks
Is that going to help me understand women? Is that like a guidebook? Let's order that right now. That's not what that is? Oh.
He says,
Just checking.
The sexuality and happiness are the things that women deserve from the beginning, from birth. Their birthright.
Yeah.
To be sexually happy, to be just happy without, even they can be single.
Yes, honey.
They could be having multiple.
Yeah.
It's their right to have happiness, not attached to one single man.
Yes.
So it's a little radical for some people, for some countries, for some nations, but I'm follower of him and I copy him. Women, especially, they need to unlearn the fact of and they should just see it being a female child, and they once they find that it's life and the world is going to.
I totally agree with that. And also, I can give you a little trick if you're wondering whether you're doing that, because I think sometimes we do these things and it's a blind spot. We don't know we're doing it. But if you're one of those people who always says, I'll be happy when, I know a lot of people who use that phrase, I'll be happy when, I make $10 million. I'll be happy when I get that job I want. I'll be happy when I have that baby, whatever it is. If you're saying that phrase, what you're doing is it's conditional. Like your happiness is conditional on the external, when what Judith is saying is that it's completely generated from the internal, right? And without generating it from the internal, what do you attract? Not what you want.
I struggle with this though. I haven't.
Go ahead, Steve.
I almost feel guilty about. I have felt this way in my life, and you're taking this complex issue, and so I can. Where I am, we talk about lottery. We hit the lottery because we're born in this country. We have abundance. I've got life. I've over my head. And my children are safe. There's real suffering in the world.
Yeah.
And there's real suffering in this country.
Yeah.
So it almost feels privileged to say, well, I'm just going to be happy, and then I'm going to, and that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
There's people out there
who are in real trauma.
There's real suffering. There's people that are going without. There's people dealing with inequities and injustice and a lack of abundance.
Yeah.
And it feels wrong to just say, well, just be happy.
I hear that.
You know what I'm coming from in that?
I do. I absolutely do. And the thing I think about that, and it's funny that you say that, because I don't know if you ever listen to Abraham Hicks, because she talks a lot about this sort of thing. Or, people come up and they share and they talk about this. Like it's very much a privilege to be sitting in this first world country where we have, computers and we eat when we want to eat. We have roofs over our head, when there are people who are living in shit and living in nothing.
Right.
Now, here's the thing about that. Without any sort of judgment over whether someone chooses it or not, or is able to choose it, or is in a position where it's just a lot more of an impossibility, it's the thing about it is that it is the law of life. So if you do want to be able to endure suffering, if you do want to be able to get through what you're getting through, the law of attraction, the law of life is that you do find within you the power to do it.
But isn't that easier for happy people
of
to say?
Course. I totally believe, in fairness, it can be a lot easier for someone who comes from already some level of privilege.
Right.
But that doesn't make it any less true for everyone. So, I think the onus is on you if you're someone who feels like, I feel like I'm a privileged person. I feel like to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
So if you're one of those people, the onus is on us to be able to share this message and to be able to help people who don't come from that level of privilege. But it still comes down to, supporting them in finding that, supporting however we can, because there's just no way of getting around if you're not willing to generate it from the inside, it can't be there for you.
Mhm.
No one can put it in you. Even if
that I agree with.
yeah,
I agree with that.
there's not a
Well,
way
it's not going
around
to come.
that.
It's not going to come from an external.
Exactly.
And my career was like this, and I remember this, and it over the head like a brick in my. So my grandmother passed when I was 32, and I career where 1,000 or that raise or that next position. Boy, it's really going to be going on then. Meanwhile, I'm speeding up the highway in my then BMW and my clothes and my expenses. Make it to say goodbye to my grandmother before she passed.
Yeah.
And I had one broken marriage under my belt. Children that, the court may be in every other weekend. I was about to say goodbye to somebody that they never had much. They were happy. They lived in the same home. They had the groceries delivered. They never owned a car. Here I was in a BMW.
Yeah.
They would save all year long just to have $40, $50 to give me during the summers as a boy to go buy something, get a snack. I could lose $60 at that point in my life and still could and wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
If you took $60 out of my bank, I wouldn't know it. And that's a big deal to
That's
them.
good to know, Steve.
And they had happiness. They had happiness and a contentment that I didn't have at the time.
Yeah.
Because I always thought, it's the next job, it's the next $15,000 raise, next material thing. I have that disease of wanting more. The disease of more.
Yeah.
I know, at least for me, and I'm getting ready to get my grammar geek. But when we talk about joy and we talk about happiness, they're now. But I believe in we have to live in a way that attracts what it is that we desire. And I think turning joy into a verb, turning satisfaction into a verb, action. And that if I'm desirous of joy and happiness, then I have to live that way.
Yeah.
And just like you said, with your grandparents, that I didn't know that, but it sounds to me that they lived that way. They lived. I
don't know that they did, but it's a different time, right? Different generation. They didn't have all the things that I wanted that I thought made me happy.
And they didn't have.
But they had a marriage.
Right.
They had children.
And they
had
didn't
grandchildren.
They didn't
have such high expectations that we do now.
Because
I feel like we're
now-
so
The
right?
expectations.
Right?
If you didn't have a car now and you're not living in New York City, you'd be, woe is me, I can't get anywhere.
Like I'd have an expectation behind it, and I could use that to not generate my happiness.
Exactly.
That disappointed expectation.
Right. So, but even because my grandparents were the same way. They were laborers, but they visited every continent on the face of this earth, with the exception of something like that. But they went everywhere.
Yeah.
And they lived modestly. Now we, on the other hand, because we have access to, social media and television, and we see things and we say, that's what I want, and that makes us happy. And it's a destination. I know for me, and I can only speak for me, that it is about the process and living in such a way to attract those things that I desire. If I'm desirous of love, then I have to live in a way that engenders those feelings of love. So I'm very much about the action and living that way. And like I said, I can't speak to anybody else, but I'm living a richer life. Instead of saying, gosh, I'm going to, I'll be happy when. I'm living it now.
Yeah.
And in the living it, I'm drawing and having these experiences and being intentional in what makes me happy.
Yeah, so that's
the
the generating it, right? That's
And
the generating.
it's in the Constitution. It's not happiness. It's the pursuit of happiness.
That's right. ability to pursue.
Right.
See, here's where I get stuck. Because it is in the Constitution, but the idea that you have to pursue it, like, I don't like the idea of attachment. So, like, what Pam was saying, what I heard, and I might have just been perceiving it because it's the way I wanted to hear it, was that it's about I'm generating this. I'm generating these feelings that I already have everything that I need and I already have everything that I want. Doesn't mean that I don't have desires, but I'm not so attached to those desires that I'm trying to do everything right in order to gain those desires. And I feel like the pursuit of happiness somehow suggests that I have to chase it, or that I have to be doing things that will have it appear, or have happiness appear.
It's like breathing.
Like generating happiness.
It's like breathing.
Except that the generating of happiness is a choice, whereas breathing, you can choose not to breathe.
Well,
that's not good.
Yeah, but I think have to get
right. We don't want that
alternative.
Right.
Yes, but what I'm saying, it should be as natural and as unconscious.
Or the idea is that, not should be, but the idea is that we practice it until it feels so natural, and then we become masterful.
That it becomes, and it's like, walking.
Yeah.
It's anything that we learn how to do. How about writing in cursive? But we're spelling. It's stuff. It's something that we learn, we master, and then we don't think about it. We just do it.
Like put it in practice.
Exactly.
Like a yoga practice. That's why I always believe that a yoga practice is a good this is a side note, a good metaphor for transformation, because it's a way to transform your body and have your body get more flexible and have the changes happen in your body without, giving yourself the time and the space to do that, right? Go ahead, Barbara. What do you want to say?
Well, we're taught to results.
Yeah.
So the results are basically, from the movies, from the house, the job. And what happens is that if we don't do those things, and then in that space, energetically, remember, everything is energy.
Yeah.
So when you're in the space and you think you're wrong, whoever has that and you don't, the energy that you have, let's say here, now it's down. From down here, you're going to start creating less.
Yeah.
So if we didn't believe in results, we weren't looking for results. If we were simply what would it take for you'd have to be in a space.
Yeah.
Right. That's
You'd
what
have
I'm
to be
talking
in a
about.
space of consciousness.
Yeah.
I'm not going to study this book. But what can I be and do to actually create?
Yeah.
But how?
Yeah.
So it's I think everyone is where they are because in this lifetime they're choosing. In a lifetime, there were lifetimes when we were on that, he was talking about, whatever story we have of anyone.
Yeah.
And whatever we're doing now, because maybe the people who aren't there now, maybe in 10 years.
We could get very metaphysical with this. I don't know. If the armed radio audience is ready, I don't know if y'all are ready. We could get very metaphysical with the changing of lives and the passing of lives and the, in and out of consciousness and transfer. And I'm a big believer in all of it. So me and Barbara can go. But we do have like 15, 16 more truths. And also Aaron and Brad Lacey joined us. Hi. Lori on the Facebook Live says, I agree with what he is saying. I guess he's talking about Steve, but I have always focused on everyone else's happiness and taking care of others, losing myself and neglecting my happiness. I didn't feel I deserved happiness with so much unhappiness in the world. Oh, that's a good point, Lori, because I feel like sometimes we do kind of guilt ourselves when it comes to that. Like, how much can I actually generate when there are unhappy people? And I always say this, if we're guilty about being happy because someone else is unhappy, our unhappiness doesn't help doesn't take them out of unhappiness into happy. So you can't help anyone. You can't be a contribution and live into your purpose and your truth and make a difference which is the fact that you even notice it. That is part of, speaks to why you're here, right? If you even notice that there are unhappy people in the world and that there are people suffering, that means that's part of your calling here on this earth. There's something to do about it. But if you're going to decide to be unhappy about it rather than do something about it, then you're basically just contributing to an energy that doesn't, we're being poked, that doesn't necessarily cause any happiness for anyone. So, yeah, Lori, I mean, I get what you're saying, but it doesn't change the fact that the willingness to generate it is what actually solves it for yourself and for others. And the ability to inspire others into having happiness. I see. Did I already say hi to Aaron and Brad? I always want to make sure I get everybody because I want you guys to participate. I love that you're participating in the conversation on the Facebook Live. Are we ready to move on to the next one? Because now I'm getting like notifications. We're already at 47 minutes in because this show goes by so fast. All right, let's see. We've actually covered a lot of these. I have like donating money does less than donating time, which I feel like, we've touched on that sort of thing, even though not specifically. You can't make everyone happy. And if you try, you'll lose yourself. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're touching on that. Does anybody have anything that's like dying to get out of them on that one? Okay. You can't be perfect, and holding yourself to unrealistic standards creates suffering. I like this. Matthew Jones says, many perfectionists have unrelenting inner critics that are full of so much rage and self-hate that it tears them apart inside. Fight back against that negative voice, amplify your intuition, and start challenging your unrealistic standards. Woo! What do y'all think about that? Perfectionism and the perfectionist syndrome. Jamie, I see you burning a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that goes back to not loving yourself. And that's where it all begins. All of the conversation we're having tonight, I feel like it goes back to making sure that you are taking care of yourself and raising your vibration every day, grounding yourself every day. And that's really the only way that we can create waves of positive, action in the world, I think. So, perfectionism, I don't know. I can't really identify with it too much. Yeah. I'm happy. Hey. I'm happily imperfect. That's what I am.
I love it.
Well, there's a difference between perfection and excellence. We're not called. I don't think we're called. I mean, I think by culture standards that we have this perception we have to be perfect in all things, and that goes that space of being right and wrong. But I believe that we are called. I think we are called to do our best, and that is. And just like, the guest who said, she's doesn't feel right when she sees suffering. Well, one response is at least you see it, because a lot of people walk around and they're blind to it. And if you see it, hopefully you're moved to address it and to do your best. So it doesn't have to be, it could be stopping when you say, how you doing? Stopping and saying, really, I really want to know, how you're doing. Yeah. So, in that space, shifting is try to be, I think, more excellent in what we can do as, hitting these marks, marks.
Yeah, like an offering of yourself as opposed to like a beating up of yourself for not meeting some standard that somebody made up, and most of the time we don't even know what it really is anyway. Like we think that we're following some random rules. Right. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think it's always the self-talk, though. I know in my work product, struggle in pursuit of excellence. And good analogy I heard was from a coach that coached people that want authors. You're waiting for that book, that first draft to be perfect. You're never the book.
Yeah.
And I find that putting out work products sometimes improve upon it, and you go back and you do another. Sometimes you just have to let things go when they're good enough. That's not associated with any negative self-talk at all. It's just wanting to be excellent, right?
Yeah.
Because your work product represents you and your capacity to be excellent or your capabilities. You know, it's your work product, right?
But what if you don't have that boundary of knowing when, you know,
We don't, because a lot of people never put anything out. It just doesn't get out.
Or
You never write that book.
right?
or you measure yourself against somebody else's standard. You know, and you're like, oh wow, you know, this is really good, and all, you know. But I'm always looking for the evidence.
Yeah.
You know, I just look for
The mile markers.
well, you know, evidence that I am less than. And if I can't, I don't think there's anything.
The evidence that you're thinking that? Or
Yeah,
the
that
evi-
you're thinking that, because
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
you're like, you see some, you know, with your analogy about the book. Oh, well, you know, it's not perfect. Well, according to who? What's the standard and where's the evidence? Listen, you write, you know, your sentences don't have to be perfect, but they are grammatically correct.
Right.
You are able to convey an idea and get your point, you know, get your point across. So it's always with trying to do your best. It's looking, I know for me, I'm looking for the evidence that I am less than, as well as, but I'm more than this.
Or just to be good enough. I remember
Right,
we wrote
it's
our grant.
okay.
You know, we wrote our first grant. And Rena, I hope you're watching, or you will watch. But Rena helped me. A very dear friend of mine helped write our first grant. He was on me. I kept going back and like, well, no, I needed to do this. She goes, Steve, it's good enough right now. I need you to move on to this next section.
Yeah.
And I had a real block with doing that.
Right.
Well,
When
I
you
think
get
that's
stuck
the
in
balance.
analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
That's what I get
Right.
stuck in.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead, Barbara.
But the
There's no, so it doesn't
It
exist.
doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
No matter how wonderful it is, you might think it's not.
Yeah.
But that, not thinking it's perfect, would go on for eternity.
Yeah.
Stopping you.
It's just no such thing.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I feel like we get to make it up. Like what Steve was saying, good enough or whatever. Like we get to make up what is the, you know, it's like I have to choose at some point that I'm going to, whether it's writing a book or whatever it is, that I'm just going to express myself.
Right.
I'm just going to start doing. I have to choose it, or otherwise it will never happen.
And I'm
'cause it can go
sufficient.
Do you think we indoctrinate that in our children with great, you know, we mark up papers with red,
Yeah.
you know, crossing
I
things
do.
out.
And the star.
Is there a better way
Grading
to accomplish
system.
that? Well, I mean, I think you do.
Well,
You need metrics,
Yeah.
but maybe the way we're going about it, right? Because I think a lot of children take that at heart, and I think things
instead
our
of,
childhood
you know,
experiences shape us.
Right,
Yeah.
but instead of the red pen saying, you know, that, you know, this is, you are, you know, you're wonderful, wonderfully made. You are not mediocre. You know, you were created for greatness. You are a leader or what. I think that and that's why we have to be careful with our words and with, you know, with our deeds, you know, so that you're not stuck, because that leads to this perception of perfection, and there's really no space to be anything, you know, to be anything other.
This made up standard.
Parents are guilty with it too, right? You know, you get straight A's and you don't get into a good college.
Yeah.
But the pressure is all around us.
We could do a whole nother podcast on the educational system and parenting, right? Because there's so much there around that, right? Like definitely. And it's interesting what you said about Steve about metrics too, because even metrics is like it's a very slippery slope. You know, I think that metrics, they are necessary on some level for, you know, how, like Barbara says, the lives that we live, they are necessary in turning people into employees and workers. But then in the grand scheme of life and actually living this life like the beings that we are, it's like the metrics are fucking with us because they're just, you know, they're just numbers that people made up that are we could talk about this all night, and we're already 55 minutes in. We only got 5 minutes left, people. So here's the thing we're going to do, because I do want to tell you about my workshop on Saturday, and I really do want you to come. You guys have cards. Everybody who's here, we're going to make sure you get a card, a little postcard with the information. Let me tell you about it. And if we have time after that, we'll do one more brutal truth. Then we'll sign off. Is everybody cool with that? Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So on Saturday here at the V Club, I'm going to be doing my Peace Purpose Partnership workshop. It's an all-day workshop. Both men and women are invited. And here's the thing. It's a fun, interactive workshop, both men and women who truly crave unconditional love. If you ever felt like you want someone who will admire your strengths, forgive your weaknesses, and support you through all your wins and losses, you are ready for peace, purpose, and partnership. What else do I say about it? I like to read my notes because Mama don't remember like she used to. If you've ever wondered why it seems so difficult to relate, or why so many marriages end in divorce, or why your own ability to pick healthy partners feels flawed, you're not alone, and it's not your fault. We're not raised to know what it means to create healthy relationships, and we're often not given the rites of passage required to be happy single people. And we are rarely given the emotional tools to relate with others in a way that creates wins for all involved. Unfortunately, there are only a few questions, I say, to ask ourselves. Am I living authentically? Do I honor my own desires? Do I have a healthy relationship with myself? If you're unsure or answered no to any of the above, it's time to remove what's standing in the way. It's time to transform your love life. It's time to experience unconditional love. So I don't want you guys to wait. I'm going to put the link in the comments on Facebook Live. If you're listening out in Armed Radio, out in the ethers, iHeartRadio, you definitely want to go to Eventbrite and just search Peace, Purpose, Partnership. Those 3 words, and go ahead and get registered. If you're in the New York area, Saturday, I want to see you. And hey, we got 1 minute left, everybody. So this is what we're going to do. For those of you out in the listening audience, I just want you to remember, never forget that you're a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and ask for Candy. I know you guys are going to be signing off soon. I love you so much. Definitely get registered for the workshop. Those of you who are on the Facebook, we're going to do one more brutal truth with the Facebook people after the Armed Radio people go, and then we're going to call it a night. Everybody cool with that?
Yeah.
All right, let me find one more. Let me find a juicy one. I feel like that. Oh, you guys make it, like, no matter what I put out there, like, you guys come in, and it's been all of you, I think, have been here before in different shows. We only have a couple new people. A couple people didn't want to be on camera. That's all right. The people who have come a couple times, you always, really, no matter what I put out there, you, throw back amazingness. So, thank you for that. I appreciate that. So, how about this one? Some of them, okay, pleasure and assurance, stop chasing her. We already talked about relationships. It's not what happens, it's how you react. Okay.